Hello and welcome everybody to another CNN battle report. My name is Chris, aka MrB4ggins, and today I would like to walk you through the first game that I had in the Infinity Global League January 2023 satellite event. This is the first satellite event ever held online via TTS, so this is kind of a hyped up tournament. We've got over 100 players who signed up from all over the world. So yeah, this is a pretty cool event. Shout out at this point to all the organizers who put together this great event. I was pretty hyped as well for my first round. And the first mission that was played during the event was Firefight. So let's have a quick look at the mission Firefight here. Firefight is a very straightforward mission. It's mostly about killing stuff. So you get 2 points for killing more specialist troops than the adversary. You get 2 objective points for killing more lieutenants than the adversary. And you get 2 objective points for killing more army points than the adversary. Additionally, there are panoplies located in the middle of the gaming table. And if you acquire more weapons from the panoplies, then this is also worth 1 additional objective points. And lastly, each player has 3 classified objectives worth 1 objective points each. This is of course to incentivize you to bring a couple of specialists to the table, giving the other person something to shoot at. This in total adds up to 10 objective points here. Then the most notable thing about this mission is that it has a 16-inch deployment zone. So you can start up nice close up and personal with your enemy, which is of course favorable for factions that bring along a lot of mid-range guns to the table, which is of course great for me as I will be playing Steel Phalanx. One more thing of note for this mission is that it makes the entire table a so-called designated landing area, meaning that combat jumps get a +3 modifier on their physics rolls, and additionally all parachutists can basically just walk into your deployment zone. This is of particular interest because in this mission every player gets to add a free Bashi Bazook to their army list, which then of course can just walk into the enemy deployment zone and try to cause havoc, which is of course great if it's a free model that you get. Other than that, there's nothing too fancy going on about this mission. So let's have a look at the list that I will be playing. This is my take on Steel Phalanx with 2 Myrmidon-Links that I'll be playing. So the first link that I have is my rather defensive link that I'll be setting up. First off, it features Makaon as my lieutenant. With his VIP 15, he has a good chance of winning the lieutenant role and giving me that so much desired first turn for the deadly alpha strike that Steel Phalanx can bring. Then there is Ajax with his great hammer. Yeah, nothing too much to say about him. He's a beast in close combat, and he's a decent mid-range gunfighter due to his inner link burst 5 combi rifle with an additional damage. Then there's just a plain and simple Myrmidon in here to fill up the link. And lastly, we have Phoenix, who is my my first arrow piece in this list. He has, of course, Mimetism -6 and brings a heavy rocket launcher to the table, so templates are always great here. And he has, due to this being a pure link, a pure Myrmidon link, he basically has BS-14. So BS-14, 2 wounds, Mimetism -6, this is quite something that opponents will have to overcome. Then I have 2 flashbots in here for covering small areas of the table and additionally providing me with cheap orders. And the second link is the one that I will try to be alpha striking with if I can. It basically centers around Uteros. He is quite the beast. I'm sure many of you out there know him. He moves 6'2" and has an MK12. So especially in this mission, he's just great at moving up and shooting stuff that he can see. He also has Mimetism -6 because he's a Myrmidon and BS-13. Additionally, I can use my lieutenant order on him since he has NCO, and he brings Eclipse grenades to the table, allowing me to dodge very annoying arrow pieces even with MSV. Then there's another Myrmidon in there to fill up the link. I have Agmon in here. He's the engineer who can then, of course, fix Uteros up, because for some reason Uteros, after the recent changes, has structure and no wounds. And yeah, he also has tactical awareness, which gives me another order that I can spend on my main attacking link. And lastly, I have Pandora in here. She is a 2-wound hacker as well. I just like to have her around because I like her versatility. It allows me A, to score objectives for which I need hackers, and B, it's just great having a hacker with you, because as I'm moving up, should there be attack or heavy infantry in a place that I cannot get to because there's a wall or a building or whatever, this allows me to just chuck a pitcher down or just walk up and do the hacking myself. So I quite like this. And then there's the free Bashi Bazook that you get in this list as well. In my second combat group, I only have the total reaction version of Atalanta and a Warcore to maybe provide an additional Flashbolt arrow or fuel Atalanta with another order if I want to spend the command token to convert the irregular order. Now, I've seen lots of videos from Kev Ryan from his last tournament of Wallace Sea Sectorial League, where he has been evaluating the Atalanta in hidden deployment. And also on Discord I've seen discussions about which Atalanta or Agima to bring. For what it's worth, I very much like the total reaction Atalanta compared to the hidden deployment one. Simply because in most of the cases that I have encountered, she is just saving my ass in reactive turn due to her burst 2 arrow. And because of her MSV2 and her marksmanship, she basically always shoots on 18 if it's in good range. Now, she only has 1 wound, I know that, and there are some cases where she just falls short due to that, because she's very vulnerable to things like infiltrators and impersonators, who can get close to her, undergo her 16-inch good shooting range and just shoot her dead. I know that that happens. But generally speaking, she is. I found her to be very, very useful to lock down certain areas of the game table where opponents would like to approach with warbands or even heavier pieces that are scared of going up against her. I've even had her fight tags in reactive turn quite well, so this is just, generally speaking, why I prefer the total reaction version. Now, my opponent was playing Foreign Company. I was quite happy to see this because it's not a faction that you see a lot, and it's always cool to see them on the game table. So let's have a look what Foreign Company can bring to the table. There are only a couple of things that I'm scared of, so to speak. So the first thing that I will be watching out is, of course, the Chimera with her Pupniks. Yeah, everybody's complaining about Chimeras at one point, so I'm sure that everybody knows how deadly they can be if they get up and close. Additionally, she has Eclipse Grenade, which will allow her to dodge both Phoenix and Atalanta as my reactionary pieces. And then there are the Krogmans, which are hidden deployment pieces that can, and also they have infiltration as well. So basically they can pop up all over the enemy half of the table. There's 2 profiles that that are of interest here for me. One is the mine layer one, which can pop down mines, and the other one would be the multi-sniper. Now, I'm particularly worried, I won't say worried, but I'm looking out for the multi-sniper one here, because this is something that I basically can only tackle with Atalanta or smoke and eclipse grenades. So this is something that if it pops up, it will be very hard for me to take down if it's positioned well. So this is something that will eat a lot of my orders if I have to put down smoke and eclipse grenades to avoid him. And lastly, there are the pieces that go into the so-called Foreign Company link, which can form a 5-man pure link with the ForCo label. The person that I'll be looking out most for is Senior Massacre, which is basically Deadpool, because he has Eclipse Grenades and also EM Grenades, but most notably he also is a natural born warrior bringing a martial arts himself, and he has EM Close Combat Weapon, which means that when he goes up against me, he's definitely better in close combat, because he will, due to his natural born warrior, negate my martial arts skill. And most of my models do have 2 wounds, but as soon as I make 1 fail on the BTS roll from the EM weapon, all my troopers can get isolated. So even if they don't die outright, this is still something that can hinder me quite a lot. So he is one of the guys that I will be watching out for, and if I get my first hands on the first turn, he is the guy that I would likely take down the most. But then there are the 2 arrow pieces that he can bring to the table. One of them is the Orc, most notably here, because the Orc can form a pure foreign company link, which means that given good range on the Feuerbach, he'll be shooting on 20s, excluding any modifiers that I might add to that. So given that the Feuerbach is shooting explosive ammunition, this can be quite scary, which of course can be evaded using smoke and eclipse grenades. And most notably, there are the Neoterra bolts that they can also link in this link. However, the Neoterra bolts don't have the ForCo label, so as soon as they are included, this will not be a pure 5-man link, but only a mixed composition link, which means that he will be only up to BS-14. Still, BS-14 with a multi-sniper rifle, MSV1 and marksmanship is quite scary, because that means that he'll ignore my cover when he's shooting at me, and the mimetism of all of my models goes down to -3. Additionally, I cannot use smoke to evade him, so which means I will have to use the eclipse grenades. This is of course nothing too bad, but this is something that I will be looking out for. So let's jump into the game and have a look here how this game went. I won the lieutenant role and chose to go first. My opponent, given deployment, decided that I should deploy first on the blue side of things. My classifieds that I have picked up here are Predator, which is of course great. Killing stuff in close combat is what Steel Phalanx excels at. I have Sabotage, which is great because I'm moving up with Agmon anyway, and I want to detonate a decharge, that's no problem. And lastly, I chose Inoculation, expecting here that this will be the card that I trade for Secure HPT. Because yeah, it's very probable that Makaon will not be moving up. For the target of Sabotage, I chose this truck over here, because in my deployment I decided to deploy my attacking link in the center of the gaming table, giving me the opportunity to go towards this direction. Now, this is let's have a look at the rest of my deployment. So here is my first link, centered around Ajax as the leader, which includes Phoenix up here, the Myrmidon over here, and then Makaon over here. Now, I have tried to adjust the facing so that there is no shenanigans going on with any Bashi Bazoo coming in from this side, should I not activate this link during my first turn and just leave them where they are. Here you can already see that I have done a deployment mistake, because if I want to activate this link, Ajax will need to be the link leader of the first activation, and I cannot activate the link in a fashion that Phoenix is the link leader and it still remains a 4-person link. But nonetheless, I chose to deploy Phoenix up here, mostly because I think this is a great arrow spot. He has lots of line of sight over here, he can see over here, and more notably, he can basically see through all of this, over to the edge of this building even, and he can see, has a line of sight in both of the hallways. So this is what I thought to be pretty good. Then I have my first flashboard situated over here, providing some arrows down towards these directions. And my second flashboard is standing over here, providing some arrows down this long fire lane and also up towards this ramp here. Now, as I said, my main attack link is in the middle of the table here, centered around Agmon here. Then there's the Myrmidon prone over here, Pandora at the base of the stairs, and Uterus is sitting up here, or rather lying up here. Now my idea here was that I can, with this deployment, take 3 routes to attacking. I can basically with Uteros climb down and go through this way. Additionally, I can go around just using this way, or if I want to, I can have everybody climb up and walk around this way. Deploying like this, I felt that this gave me the most options that I needed. So yeah, this is why I put it like this. My HVT is deployed down here to stop anybody climbing down here should they come over from this direction. And Atalanta was my withheld piece. Now, given that information, my opponent did his deployment, so let's have a look at what he has. In the first combat group, he has the aforementioned core link over here, consisting of Lakshmi, Hacker of Fortune, Senior Massacre over here, the Bolt with a multi-sniper rifle here, Avicenna, the Doctor over here, and a Bolt with a Spitfire prone over here. So this is five-person link. As mentioned before, because the bolts are in there, it's not a pure link, but it's still a very scary 5-man link. Then also in this combat group there is the Pathfinder bot over here, so the FO bot. There is a flash put bot over here that gives us 7 orders in total. And lastly, there are 2 camo markers here, one over here and one over here, both prone. Now, the way in which he deployed this camo marker makes me think that he is capable of dealing with Uteros, because he wants to hinder me from having Uteros walk up this direction. From that information, I'm getting 2 things. A, he's pretty decent in close combat, and B, he might even have a template weapon, which makes me to believe that this is a Beast Hunter, and then I'm expecting this to be some form of zero shenanigans. The Chimera is not yet placed because it's his withheld piece. So that's all for combat group number 1. And in combat group number 2, there is a missile bot prone over here. There's a Securitate Harris over here, consisting of the Paramedic, a standard Securitate, and a Securitate with a Feuerbach, providing some arrows down towards this direction here. Now, from this deployment, I know that this must be his lieutenant, because there's no other profile available that can be a lieutenant, and additionally, he rolled on a 14 on the lieutenant roll. Now, what's the last thing that I was missing? Yes, in group number 2, there is a Peacemaker with his little Orcspot lying over here. Something that I did not think about, which is of course something that Phoenix is vulnerable to. So because of the heavy shotgun that the Peacemaker has, so I will need to be aware of that. Now, 2 things. Firstly, he decided to deploy his Bolt multi-sniper rifle prone and not in an arrow position. This is of course great for me, because I can just ignore it until I am ready to deal with it. So this makes me quite happy. And secondly, this bolt here is placed quite openly out here, facing all the way of this area here. I'm pretty sure that my opponent did not expect anything too hefty to come as my reserve piece, which is why he deployed the bolt prone over here. I took advantage of that, deploying Atalanta straight here in this building, giving her a nice line of fire to the prone bolt Spitfire dude over here, which allows me to just spend an order on Atalanta and just shoot him in the face. My opponent finishes his deployment by putting the Chimera here and adding the Phalanx here. Now, he did not see the line of fire that Phoenix has to this corner, which is simply because I'm guessing he only looked out from this direction, and it's really, really hard to see. But if you look from Phoenix perspective, it's very, very plain to see that he can see all the Phalanx hanging out nice and cozy down there. Alrighty, this then gives me the start to go for my first turn. I have 8 regular orders because he spends a command token to take away 2 orders from me, plus the tactical awareness on Akmon and the NCO on Uteros, totaling up to 10 orders that I can do in my first turn. So now, let's do some damage with it. The first thing that I do is I spend an order on Atalanta and shoot the Bolt Spitfire over here. Now he has 2 shots on long range. He decides to dodge on the 11. I shoot him twice on 18s. He makes the dodge, but is beaten by one of my rolls. Has to pass 2 armor saves and fails one of the armor saves and goes unconscious. Now this gives me free reign of this hallway over here, which is why I spent my lieutenant order to have the entire link kind of walk forward and have Eudoros climb down towards here. That was the tactical awareness from Agmon. I then spent my my lieutenant order to activate Eudoros and have him walk over here. They all end up somewhere over here. And Eudoros now has line of sight to this Pupnik, but additionally there is the Securitate with the Feuerbach that has a line of sight through here, which I need to be mindful of. So I decide to pop down Eclipse Smoke over here to block off the Securitate with Eudoros, which is a point that he sees while vaulting this thing here. So here, smoke goes down, Pupnik also passes his dodge, and I think he comes a bit closer, but it's nothing that I'm too worried about. Now, I decide to spend another order on them and have everybody kind of move up here as well. And I decide to use that order to shoot the unconscious Bolt Spitfire with Eudoros. That succeeds. The bolt is removed from the table. I spend my second regular order to move everybody up again to somewhat over here, giving the Pupniks another arrow because now they can see me through here. I decide to take pot shots at the first Pupnik here, and who fails his dodge, or rather is beaten by my MK12, fails subsequent armor saves and goes unconscious. The other 2 I think make their dodge and move a bit closer, but again, nothing I'm too worried about. Now, at this point I'm aware that if I move up a bit further over here, I can basically see the prone Senior Massacre lying over here. So I spend my third regular order on the link, have Eudoros move up here to stay out of line of sight of everybody else, and take some shots at Senior Massacre. He decides to throw Eclipse Smoke as expected and tries to chuck it over here. He gets beaten. He rolls 2 very low rolls, I think, and gets beaten by my MK12, fails 2 armor saves, and immediately dies. This is great because he has regeneration, and I would have hated to spend another order to put rounds into him to avoid him from getting up again. Now, at this point I decide that Lakshmi is the next thing that I need to kill, so I move everybody up. I'm being greedy now. I'm moving Eudoros up like this, so that he can gain line of fire to Lakshmi while staying in her back arc, not be seen by this FO bot over here. And I say that the flash bot can just go ahead and shoot me. I will not care. Everybody else is kind of moving up here. I'm trying to be careful not to step too close to the flashbot to trigger his repeater range. Now, my cockiness does not pay off. I am in good range with my MK12. However, Lakshmi has mimetism, so I'm on -3 total. I have 4 shots on 10. I fail all of my shots. The flashbot, however, hits me, and I fail one of the armor saves, making Eudoros stunned. Now, this is my main gun out of the picture for now, which of course sucks, but I do have Agmon with me, so if I wanted to, I could just pick him up again. At this point, I decide I want to get rid of the flashbot first. What I do is I reform the link around these 3 guys, leaving Eudoros out of the link for now. And I have Agmon move up here, and everybody else kind of is supposed to stay out of repeater range. Now, what happens here is that he decides to flashbot Agmon again, and I am also not careful enough, and Pandora is like at 7.9 inches of, and therefore is in repeater range of Lakshmi. He decides to declare a spotlight with Lakshmi and flashbolts against Agmon. I use my combi rifle to take pot shots at the Fugazi. And so what happens is that Pandora gets targeted, and the flashbolt just outright dies in a self of combi fire. Now, I am standing over here, and I still have a couple of orders left. What I decide to do now is I want to get rid of Lakshmi, and I will use the Myrmidon. So I activate the link again. So the Myrmidon now barely gains line of fire to Lakshmi, and I have the rest kind of walk up like this. Must have been something like this, because I know that anyways the Myrmidon was just close enough to barely gain line of fire to Lakshmi. And it was in a situation where, yeah, he was definitely further back, because it was just like, yeah, that seems about right. Because I was just guessing that it might very, very well be out of range for the chain rifle here. What happens is that the hacker dodges, and the Myrmidon decides to pistol Lakshmi. And so it was somewhere over here, because the FO bot still got an arrow against the Myrmidon. I decide to pistol Lakshmi. Lakshmi dodges, and the Myrmidon, the FO bot wants to combi rifle the Myrmidon. At order resolution, what happens is that Lakshmi fails her dodge. I hit her twice with my pistols, I think, and the FO bot also fails his shot. Lakshmi fails one armor save and goes unconscious. Now, I spent another order on them, moving Agmon over here as the link leader, moving this Myrmidon somewhere up here, and moving Pandora somewhere over here. And here I decide to shoot 2 rounds of Panzerfaust at the FO bot, and he decides to combi rifle me back. I win the face-to-face with 2 shots. He has to make 6 armor saves and tanks 4, which means that this FO bot is unconscious level 2. And now he decides not to take any dodges here with my, that was my second to last order. And I think I have now reformed the link. The Myrmidon is standing somewhere like this. Uterus ends up back here, and Agmon ends up back here. Something like this was the final resolution of all of that mess. At this point, I've spent 9 orders on them. I'm quite happy with the turnout, because I've taken out the hacker. If I'm thinking that this is the cheap version, so a 0 killer hacker, I'm not sure, but I've definitely taken out the most scariest hacker, being Lakshmi. And I am right where I want to be. I'm right up close and personal with my enemy. That's why I decide to spend the last order that I have on this Myrmidon, break him out of the link, and using stealth just have him walk up to here-ish to be a pain in the ass for the Peacemaker. I want to stay out of line of sight, so at order resolution it looks something like this. And at this point I do pass the turn over to my opponent, who now begins his round by doing an order count. In combat group number 1, he has lost quite a lot, so he has at this point 3 regular orders and 2 irregulars left standing, and combat group number 5 remains untouched. He decides to spend his first order guiding missile striking Pandora. Now there's quite the fun interaction here, because Pandora has a dodge -6, which means that the guided missile bot is only shooting her on 12s, and she's dodging on 12s, which made me chuckle a bit, because that is something that I did not think about. But anyways, she fails the dodge, the missile hits her, she fails 2 armor saves and explodes in a pile of red mist. Now, with the next order, my opponent decides to activate his Peacemaker and have the Orcsbot vault up here, and then basically start climbing this thing. The intention being to heavy flamethrower Phoenix if he is in range. The Peacemaker is staying put where it is. Now, at this point I'm quite scared, because it's very hard for me to judge if this is actually inside template range or not. So I decide to take a dodge with Phoenix and a dodge with the Myrmidon as well. We measure, it just barely is in, but I managed to dodge. So Phoenix goes up to this position, evading the flamethrower. The Myrmidon, however, does not pass his his dodge. Now, the third order in the second group is where he moves his Orcsbot over here, gaining line of fire to the Myrmidon and Phoenix, and simultaneously staying back to avoid the template of Phoenix splashing over to the Peacemaker. His intention here is to flamethrower the Myrmidon to then being able to activate the Peacemaker to take care of Phoenix. Now, the Myrmidon declares a dodge and Phoenix declares a heavy rocket launcher shot at the Orcsbot. The Orcsbot dies and explodes. The Myrmidon, however, passes his dodge, gets to dodge 4 inches, and just engages the Peacemaker. So now that is kind of out of the picture. At this point, he wants to start activating his first combat group. He spends an irregular order on this camo marker, stands him up, and moves him up to this position. Was that? Oh, sorry, that was 3D measurement. So yeah, moves him up to somewhat this position. Now that I'm pretty sure that it's a Beast Hunter due to the irregular order, and then thinking about this, I declare a delay with Phoenix and a discover with the Flashbot. He decides to continue moving and moves to somewhat over here. Forfeiting my delay on Phoenix, I take the discover roll and pass, so I reveal him as the Beast Hunter that he is. He spends another regular order on him and wants to move him up here. I'm pretty sure I'm not getting the measurements right here. We had a bit of a discussion what he is able to see. And basically he was standing at a point, as you can see here, kind of, where he wasn't able to draw a line of fire to Uterus, but he was able to draw a line of fire to Agmon. Which is of course a shame for him, because he wanted to get rid of Uterus first. Or rather, most notably. Anyways, so the Link declares a shoot, and Agmon decides to put 2 rounds of combi rifle into the Beast Hunter. The Beast Hunter shoots his Panzerfaust at Agmon. I win the face-to-face. He fails an armor roll. Beast Hunter goes unconscious. So far, this is all going very, very well for me. My opponent then decides it's time to do something with his core Link here, which is why he's activating the Bolt Sniper, moving her out prone to see Uterus and back. We measure the zone of control, so it's just out of 8 inches. I'm pretty sure that the point where he ended up was within 8 inches because we were both shooting our pistols. I'm shooting my 2-burst heavy pistol on 13s, and he's shooting his normal pistol on burst 2 on 13s. I win the face-to-face. He tanks 1 armor save and fails another, so he goes unconscious. Because of his shock immunity, he's not outright dead. Well, at this point, my opponent is kind of out of options, so he decides to move up with Avicenna, has her activated, and tries to move out to this position to get rid of Agmon. At which point he kind of did not see the line of fire that Atalanta has to her. So she decides to dodge, fails the dodge, Atalanta shoots her, she fails her armor saves, and also goes, I think he even dies outright. Now, my opponent has 2 regular orders left in the second combat group and decides that there's nothing that he wants to spend it on. So he forfeits the last 2 orders and passes over to me. Now at this point I have lost I have lost Pandora, which means that I can get to spend a command token and move Atalanta up, giving me the full 10 regular orders in combat group number 1, plus Lieutenant and Tactical Awareness on Agmon. So now, what's happening now is that I'm just here to score points. So I'm just going to fast forward through my second turn here a bit. What's happening is that I spend an order with Agmon to blow up my red vehicle that I chose. I'm kind of moving everybody along, moving Udoros up here. Then the Myrmidon snaps the neck of the Bolt, and Agmon snaps the neck of Lakshmi. Now already scoring me Sabotage and Predator with 2 kills. And then I decide to move everybody up we go to here. And once I am over here, Udoros starts doing his thing, where I peek out. We have a short discussions about line of fire and decide that he's able to draw line of fire to the Securitate first and not seeing the Chimera. So I put a round of slugs into the Securitate. He tanks the first round. I then put put a second round in him. He dies. I then shoot the gain line of sight to the Chimera. The Chimera decides to throw Eclipse Smoke. I shoot her with my MK12. I win the face-to-face. Chimera dies. Pupniks are disconnected. I have Udoros move up here. The rest moves up here. Udoros goes in and shoots the Securitate dead. That's his lieutenant gone. The Myrmidon moves up, snaps the neck of the Pathfinder with the coup de grace, scoring me the additional victory point on Predator. And Udoros moves up here to kill this Securitate. And with my last order, I walk up here and a bit back to gain line of sight to the missile bot and take this out as well. Now, that was a very, very successful second turn. At this point, the Pupniks are disconnected, and my opponent is in loss of lieutenant and has a 0 left and a Peacemaker who is tied down in close combat with a Myrmidon, and he has left the Bashi Bazook. At this point, my opponent decides to forfeit the game, seeing that there is nothing more that he can do. I do kind of agree with him, because this is definitely a hard thing to come back from, knowing that Macaron is my lieutenant who is prone over here. He could try to steal something from the panoplies over here, but yeah, given that I will have one more turn, it wouldn't be that hard for me to just take out his last models and start drawing things from the panoplies as well. This concludes my the first game. At the final score, I gained 2 points for killing more army points, 2 additional points for killing more specialists, and then 2 another points for taking out more army points than my adversary. I gain 1 additional point for sabotage, and having performed 3 coups de grace, I get the 2 points for Predator. At this point, giving me a 9-0. My opponent offers to round this up to a 10 because there is no retreat in Firefight, and as I mentioned, technically speaking, there would be enough time for me to pull enough stuff out of the panoplies. But yeah, I am at this point saying that I'm fine with the 9-0, and we just keep as is, count our army points as we currently are, and reconcile the game here. Alrighty, this was this from my first battle report. I was quite happy with the game. There was only one small deployment error that I did, where I deployed Phoenix in a way that he cannot be the link leader, which is something that I want to take care of and look out for in my next game. But other than that, I'm quite happy with how this game turned out. Alright, that's it from my side, and I will see you again for the next round of the IGL, which will be Clearly Hasified. Until then...